Good evening, everyone, and Johar, Jule, Chibai, Umno, Put, Khamrimo. Greeting from the many voices of India's 500 tribal communities. My name is Varsha Mario Kachhap, and I come from the Rao community in Jharkhand. Welcome to Tribal Futures, the second edition of Tribal Design Forum's month-long celebration of contemporary tribal imagination. Over the next 29 days, we will showcase artists, designers, architects, scholars, and knowledge keepers whose work carries the wisdom and the spirit of the communities into today's world. This is a space to see, hear, and feel the power of tribal worldview and to recognize the deep value of indigenous knowledge in shaping a more caring future. Today, we are delighted to have Dr. Madan Meena, trustee of Bhasha Research and Publication Center, Baroda. He has also been the director of the Adivasi Academy, Tejgadh, Gujarat. Dr. Meena is a visual artist and researcher. He has worked extensively with artists and craftspersons from the local communities in Rajasthan and Gujarat. His doctoral dissertation from University of Rajasthan was on the subject Art of the Meena tribe. He continues to work as a researcher with the women of the Meena community and has documented and exhibited their mandana wall painting across the India, across the country, and overseas. He has published two books on the subject Joy of Creativity and Nurturing Wall. Dr. Meena is an inspiration to tribal artists everywhere. We are privileged to have him with us today on the second day of the Tribal Futures. Dr. Meena, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Varsha, for inviting me to this second edition of Tribal Design Forum. And as you said, 500 tribal communities from India. I also belong to one of the important tribal communities from Rajasthan, the Meena tribe. And after finishing my academic studies, if I say my first research work was on my own community, and that too on the art of the Meena woman. Why? Because during my all art history study, during my fine arts study in college, in school, I did not find even a single mention of such tribal arts in our curriculum. We studied the world arts, we studied the Indian arts, we studied the classical arts, folk arts, but I was not able to find any single mention of many of the tribal art forms which are practiced in India. So I decided to work to start my research from my own community and then expand to other tribal communities. So while studying the Meena art tribe, I spread to other communities also. I traveled as far as Bastar in Chhattisgarh, to Arunachal Pradesh, to Gujarat tribal areas, to Maharashtra, to to study their tribal art forms also and to see how our art form, their art forms, what is the story, what they express. So today I am going to share with you a small presentation I have prepared on the Meena art woman over here. I hope my screen is visible, Varsha.
Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
Thank you. So this is about creativity and knowledge in an Adivasi tradition. What we see when we think about the tribal communities, what we think about their knowledge systems that these tribal communities has. One thing is very important. I work with the Bhasha Research and Publication Center, and which has documented some 780 languages, a project People's Linguistic Survey of India, headed by Dr. Ganesh Devi, put down some 780 languages still being spoken across India. And from that, 90% languages are spoken by the communities like the tribal communities, the nomadic communities, the denotified communities, or the communities which live in the remote areas. So you can understand the linguistic diversity that these communities have. But at the same time, I have tried to understood the visual diversity that these communities have. We all know that they have a diverse culture, they have diverse ethnic identities, they have various ways of cultural expression, histories, origins, those stories are there. But to come together, to compile all these studies together, I see that every community and within the community, various kinds of visual expressions exist. And for them, these visual expressions are like scripting their stories. It's just not, we just can't take the few scripts that India has, just a dozen of scripts that India has. The people try to express their in those particular scripts. But over here, I see that the tribal communities have almost more than 60% languages, a very limited script, two, three scripts that they have, which they can, which are of tribal origin. Rest of the scripts are of the mainstream society. Those scripts they have to depend upon, which are insufficient actually to express their language. But this visual storytelling, the visual express, the visual script writing is something very different, which people have not tried to study much. So I started from my roots, where I come from, where I am born, and the women of my own community, my mothers, my sisters. So trying to share a little bit of my study that I did over the period of some 20 years, starting from soon after my post-graduation in 1999, and then continued to study this till most of the mud houses became concrete houses by 2020. So you can see what this art form is like. It's not an individualistic art form that we see in the classical art form, where the individual artists have their identities. Over the art form, no single woman can claim her identity. It's a community art form. It is learned. The daughter learns from the mother, or learn from her aunt, or may learn from a sister-in-law. They are free to learn. They are free to express. It's a community art form that coming down from generations after generations. But then it is not static. It's not same. It's not copy. There are always there is fluidity. There are always spontaneous reactions. There are spontaneous expressions. There are changes year after year. So here also you can see women of three generations, the grandmother, mother, and daughter, just trying to complete one art form, which is a floor drawing. They sometimes call it mandana. They sometimes call it mandana, though people have described it mandan, to draw on floor. But I call it that they write their stories on floor and walls. Some call it Moridi Mandana. Peacock has been a major subject. I think this is a tribal community which has most explicitly expressed through the peacocks. I've never seen so varieties of peacock done by any other community, whether the mainstream or the tribal or the nomadic communities. The kinds of peacock that these women from the Meena community has expressed. Peacocks are their signatures, basically, I should say. Everyone draws a very unique peacock of her own style. So sometimes they call their art form ki it's a Mordi Mandana, to draw peacocks on the wall. People call Mordia. Mordia means it's a plural form of peacocks. So they compose beautiful peacocks, which is the central subject, the main subject of the paintings, and around it they draw other flora and fauna from the region, from the immediate environment that they see. So in this picture you can see peacocks, varieties of peacocks, and in between the peacocks they have painted dogs, cats, like that. They never signature these artworks. So for example, if you see Fulbai, so this is not something that Fulbai has written her own name. It is maybe her son, maybe a grandson who is studying in school will come and then will write name of the artist who is doing it. So some Lokesh or Akhilesh who is studying in LKG or maybe in a senior class has come to write this name Fulbai. So they sometimes call it Jinavar Mandana also, because they paint Jinavar, means Janvar, means animals. Also because they live in the vicinity of the Ranthambore Wildlife Sanctuary, which is thus near to them. The villages are all around this wildlife sanctuary. So tiger and all kinds of wild animals are there in the sanctuary. So at one time they must have come across, they still come across these wild animals, and that is what they paint on their walls. Then there is another kind of a style which is similar to the similar to the wall painting style, which they call Gyar Ka Mandana, means The forms are drawn through etching on the walls. It's a kind of a relief clay work that they draw. The forms are similar to the flat painting that they are doing that you saw in the previous slide. Similar forms are also drawn in a relief on the walls, but majorly in the interior spaces, and they last for a longer duration. The artwork that you see over here, they all get washed away with the monsoon. So these are done during Diwali festival. They last for 7 to 8 or 9 months, and when the monsoon comes, they all get washed off, and then again they prepare the walls, and again they prepare these paintings. But these interior artworks, they remain for many, many years. I've seen some 25 years over the whole complete generation. They last. Every year they whitewash, they clean them. Some people have started calling these paintings as Meena paintings because there is no particular name actually. Like you have Varli painting, you have a Gond art, like that. Sora paintings, you have all specific name for different tribal art form, but this art form has no particular art form till date because the women expresses differently in different regions. So some call it Meena paintings also because this is stylistically a style which belongs to the Meena community or the Meena tribe. So this was the subject of my study in 2000, from 2019 onwards. When I finished my post-graduation studies, I chose this subject of my PhD dissertation. So you can see this map. There were some hundreds of villages. If you can see small red dots over here, all around wildlife sanctuary, Ranthambore Wildlife Sanctuary. This district is Savai Madhopur, and then the adjoining districts like Kota, Bundi, Tonk, Karoli, Dausa, all those districts in the adjoining districts where the Meena villages are maximum. This is Aravalli hill range where the Meena resides. So I tried to cover some 100 villages during my PhD and post PhD also. I continue to document these artworks. This is the Ranthambore Wildlife Sanctuary, which has tigers, which is famous for tigers now, but it has a very diverse flora and fauna, very rich flora and fauna in the region, and this is a Aravalli hill range. It's a confluence of three rivers, like there is Banas and Chambal, which joins together on the borders of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. The Meena women, and you can see them wearing the most colorful clothes. You might have seen many pictures, photographs from Rajasthan, but I have seen the most striking textile which is being worn is by these Meena women. And they are very expressive, they are talented, they are highly talented in all spheres of life. This is small one video I'm going to share with you where they are singing a marriage song and they are dancing to the tune. So this is just a small clip from a marriage, but in that too you can see how expressive they are. They have a hard life. It's not that these are women who just paint at their leisure on these walls. It's not like that. As soon as monsoon finishes, they start repairing the houses. They take care of the agriculture fields, and then simultaneously they spend time to draw on the walls or to paint on the walls. It is a work. It's a very hard work of 2 months after monsoon. Just nearing the Diwali, they finish these artworks. So you can see this. To fetch water, they have to balance these two pots or three pots together. They do all the kinds of household work, take care of their children, and still they find time to repair and then to furnish them with these fresh paintings every year. It's a ritual, it's like a ritual that they have to do every year. Every part of the house has to be painted every year. So this is small kitchen area. You can see that also how beautifully means. If you look at it from the architectural perspective, or you look it from the visual perspective, or you look it from the point of aesthetics, or you look at the perspective of narrative, then you can understand how important art is in their life. These are talented women. Again, I said they are good at every work you can think about for their sustainability. And as I said that it's a very hard work of 2 years. So this house has been repaired after the monsoon. It has been all plastered with clay, refurbished, and then they are painting the wall. And finally, they will do very fine paintings over the spaces. Around trees, around platforms, inside house, outside house, every part of the house is painted. Even the chula also that you can see used for cooking food. That too find a place to express this art form. And you can see this very interesting image how a woman who want to paint at a height is balancing herself on this ladder, and in one hand she is holding a ball of color, and with the other hand she is just drawing these parrots on the wall. So you can understand how complicated, how tough task it is, but then it's a ritual for them. It's not a pressure on them. It's just intrinsic, their expression that comes out on the wall. It is their willingness to do it. It is their longing to do it. They wait for it. So just before Diwali, they finish their houses. And this is what they become like when I was studying this art history, I read about Leonardo Vinci. When he used to come out after sculpting his sculptures, and the children in the street would laugh at him, and they would say snowman, snowman, because all the marble dust would cover him. And when he was returning from workshop to his home every day, the children would laugh and tease him like this. But these women are also equally that much talented. You can see her. She also looks like a snow woman. So it's a aesthetical choice rather than ritualistic compulsion, because what we see, the other art form that we study, they are all attached with some of the rituals. Over here, there is no ritualistic compulsion actually. It is the inner aesthetics that comes out on the walls. It's an inner expression that comes out on the walls. And they make these spaces a very hospitable spaces. Otherwise, what is the need of painting these walls? They can remain blank also, like we see our urban places. The walls are just blank, they are flat painted. We do not see any kinds of aesthetics, any kind of paintings on these walls. So year after year, they paint the wall, and every year the design changes, and they are assisted by all the women from small child to the elderly woman. Everyone contributes to finish the out, because the time is short and they have to complete the house. So every corner of the house, the front, back, side, courtyard, kitchen area, everything has to be painted by the Diwali festival. This is a side wall and a place where they put their animals, the place where they put their water pots, the staircase. It's a double story mud house, so you can see the staircase also. The inside of the house, where you can see the clay structures made into small shrines and the paintings at the bottom. The courtyard, as if they have just imitating the stars that they see at night. The granaries, where they put the food, their food grains inside. They store it for the holier consumption. And this is what I showed you the second slide, which was a relief artwork. This is unpainted relief artwork just done by a girl of 12 years of age. It is unpainted. You can see the details. It has just a miniature quality in it. The Rajasthan miniature painting that you study or you see, it's just a quality at par with that. And she has put all kinds of decoration inside it. See the detail here. Again, another granary which has been whitewashed. The similar wall has been just painted over with a white paste, khadiya paste. It's a chalk color which they use. It's not rice, what you see in Jharkhand, Odisha. It's not a rice paste. It's a clay basically, a white clay, out of which they make a paste, adding water to it, and then they paint with that. Another kind of granaries, you can see how intricately the decoration on these granaries has been done. They could have left it blank also, they could have left it plain also, but every part, every corner of the granary has been expressed with various kinds of creatures that they see in their surrounding. This is a small video of a small guest room. So the guest rooms, if you see the structure of the Meena house, there is a separate at a corner which is meant for the male guest or the outsiders that come and visits the house. So it's a small video I'll show you, and then you see the relief work, the relief clay work that has been done in this guest house. And you can see the contemporary subjects that they have tried to capture in the bicycle rider, though they are mythological subjects also, religious subjects also. But equally at the same time, if there is a Ganesha, there is a cycle rider also. This is a structure you can imagine their creativity. This is just to use to keep fodder for the animals, for the cattle of the house, and that too is painted with a pair of peacocks and other creatures. This is a space in Rajasthan. There is scarcity of water, so the utensils are just cleaned with a dry ash. I hope some of you must be knowing about it. So this is a place where they keep the ash from the chula, and which they just rub on the utensil and clean it. So that portion also remain painted like this. Even a camel is painted by using a black dye over it. Same kind of characters, same subjects painted on the camel also with a hair dye. Even the hands also. So the tattoo that you see on the body, they are also similar forms. The peacocks, parrots, gamla, and this is their odni, the shoulder cloth. That too find the similar forms done in applique. So what are these like? So a book was published by Tara Books called Nurturing Walls, and it was released in London with a small exhibition of these paintings. So very famous critic, you must be knowing John Berger, who lived in the countryside all through his life. After seeing this painting, he said that they are walls meant for the jails. They are walls which are made between the countries to separate two countries. They are walls which are made to stop the intruders coming inside. But after looking at these paintings, he said that these are the walls of welcome. That was his expression after seeing these paintings. So you can see those wordings very much here reflected in this. So these are houses, lanes of houses when you see from the distance. So when you approach a village from a distance, the village start looking like this. And when you enter inside, the houses will start looking like this. Further, if you go in the lanes, the houses will look like this. Like this. All the pavements, all the verandas, side walls, front walls, courtyard, everything is painted. No part is just left blank. This is front of the house, which is a major painting of a peacock, which called a chanda. Chanda is the front wall of the main front wall of the house. So what are these walls? These walls are also called nurturing walls. The title of the book was Nurturing Walls because in most of the painting you will also find the babies of the creatures painted along like this. So many of the paintings are their memory imaginations also because currently the woman might have not seen a tiger, but the imaginary of the tiger is passed on from from her mother or maybe from her grandmother. So those imaginaries still exist in in their brain, and they are drawn year after year, year after year. So even without looking at the realistic tiger in their life, they can still draw tigers. And this is not coming from any illustration in the book. It is all coming through the brain. It is all coming through the visual memories transferred from their mothers and grandmothers. Elephant is not in the habitat of Ranthambore sanctuary. You won't find any elephant over there. But might be some sadhu might have passed through that region on an elephant. Their parents, grandparent, or forefathers might have seen that elephant. So they paint elephant also. That imaginary still exists. Horse riders, women fetching water, even some of the religious subjects, images of God, like you can see a Ganesha there, you can see Ganesha here also. Then this is a ritual painting done for the marriages. So there also the same imaginary exists. So this is also done on the wall, on the outside wall also. Inside it's a ritual painting where the newly married couple come and they bow their heads over here. Hanuman also. And then they have their ancestral deities also, which are painted in these walls because they have They are small shrines of their ancestral deities, which are small, low relief stone carvings of a man sitting on a horse. So those also find places on these walls. And then even ghostly creatures, which people might have never seen it. So this is not a painting by a Meena woman, but this is a painting by children. So children are generally scolded or they are feared by telling them that go and sleep, otherwise the habu will come and eat you. So the child has imagined a habu, a creature from their imagination that maybe looks like a tiger with a big mustaches. And then because the child is illiterate, he must be attending a school, so he has written habu over there. It's habu means the ghostly creature. And then he has drawn himself on sitting on an elephant also. Over there in the previous painting you saw that was professionally made by a woman with a proper sadhu sitting over it, but over here you can see a caricature of a child who's sitting riding an elephant. And you can see a life-size portrait, life-size expression of this boy. This is not by Meena woman, this is by this boy who has written his name also, Surgyan Meena. So Surgyan has done this life-size portraiture of himself, and he's proud to say that this is a portrait or this is a life-size painting of himself, Surgyan Meena. And then he has made these firecrackers on the side. And maybe these images like from circus, because circus visits in these villages, maybe in the small towns in that region, so they might have seen these lions being just handled by a man in the circus. So those kinds of subjects also find a space in these paintings. And then when you study, when you compare these paintings with the prehistoric rock paintings from Madhya Pradesh, and there are rock paintings in Rajasthan also, in South Rajasthan also. So you'll find that there's a similar kind of a linear expression, similar kind of a expression of the line that they use or the subject that they use. So if you find the X-ray images in the Bhimbetka painting, you'll find the same kinds of X-ray imaginary in these paintings also. So you can see in the bottom image the peacocks with the egg inside and and their embryos inside that of the peacock. Over here, the baby elephant inside the mother baby's body. Here also, what the birds eat, they can imagine that if they are feeding on the food grains, then those grains are also there inside their stomach. So this kind of imaginary also exists among these women. These are multidimensional. When we were studying this fine arts, we studied that Picasso got inspired from the African tribal arts, and he was a person who was using multi dimensions in his expressions. And I see those multi-dimensionality in these paintings also, because here you can see the frontal face also, the two eyes looking at you, and you can see the side face also, the trunk going up. So the side face exists and the front face exists. This is something that I studied in Picasso's painting, but I found it in the Meena paintings also. Here also, there is a frontal face and there is a side face also of the tiger. Then the contemporary expressions. In one of the earlier artwork, I showed you the bicycles. Over here, there's a camel cart over here. There's a head pump also. So whatever new things that they see, they accommodate all those subjects in the paintings. Even the bus also, even the train also that they see. And now as the mobile has come, the cell phones has come, those too finds expression as the literacy is increasing. So you can see the date that when the children go to school, they just mark the date on the top page of their notebook, and then they write their name also on the notebook. So that kind of intention also you can see in these paintings. So over here the the man and woman, they are on phone talking to each other. So those, and then the man giving a rose to the woman. So those expressions also are there. Then the material, what material they use, like you have been seeing these paintings, white color, red color, black color, all those colors. So what is this material? So material is just from the immediate surrounding. They do not go to any shop to buy these material. This material is just around their village. So you can see how the houses are made first. So houses are made by the sun-dried bricks. So they just make these bricks from the pond clay. When it just dries up in the summer is the best time to make these these clay bricks. So that time they make these bricks, then they construct their houses. And you can see that within the village you can find varieties of clay. So the three clays that you see, yellow, little off-white, and then the black clay, this is all from their vicinity. It is just around one village. From different locations you can get these three varieties of clay. And red and white that you are looking, they are just brought in by the nomadic communities like the Banjaras. They come and they just sell it against as a barter against the food grains. So they have a variety of colors, just all coming from clay. Then brushes are very basic. They are either made of a grass, the munj grass that grows in the region, or they are made from the khajur leaf stick. The spine of the khajur leaf is just cut into various sizes, and then the end of it is threshed with a stone. So they make bristles. So with those bristle brushes, they do not buy even a brush also from the market. It is all there in their surrounding. And black color, simply from a charcoal, they just crush the charcoal into powder, and then they add this black into this red geru, so it become a darker red tone color. And this is how they repair the walls soon after the monsoon. So they plaster it with the clay, with a mixture of clay and husk. Later they mixture it with the clay and cow dung, and then they finally paint over it, or they just simply whitewash it. So they are repairing the holes or the uneven wall. Then you can see here, after being plastered, then this woman is just doing a basic drawing, and you can see the swiftness of the drawing, the spontaneity in the drawing from this small video over here. She's a master painter, but she could have directly painted on the wall, but she was pregnant. She couldn't stand for long, so she was just doing a drawing and leaving it to her sister-in-law, to her children, to just finish the painting. So I just noticed this. She was doing an outline and then they just went away. And you will see that she's going to use both her hands. When she's doing this figure, she'll use left, and when she do another figure on the right hand side, she'll use on the left hand side, she'll use the right hand. That's all. So over here you can see another woman. She's just painting directly with the color, not doing any outline. That woman did outline because she was not having enough time to do the painting. So she just did a drawing with a dry chalk, and over here this woman is painting directly with the color. And another video how the women of the household comes together to finish a work, and no brush is being used here. The paint is just being let to be flown through the fingers, and the fingers become the brush here. They hold a cloth dipped in color and slowly they squeeze the cloth. So as the color flows through the finger, the painting takes the shape. So tip of the finger is just making these forms. Yeah. Now another thing is when I was relating these with the language, with the script, with the expression, visual expression. So as we see that there is a very famous proverb in Rajasthan called "12 कोस बोली पलटे and 10 कोस पानी," that after a certain distance the taste of a water and that the language also changes. But I tried to map that in these paintings also, and what I found when I tried to culturally divide this region, which is just 3 districts or 4 districts of southeast Rajasthan or eastern Rajasthan, into small cultural zones, which are micro culture zones, I should say, we recognize. And in those regions, there are quite stylistic difference in these visual expressions. Mean the style of the painting changes in these regions. It's not a big area. This is just a 50-kilometer radius from Ranthambore Sanctuary. If you go across this 50-kilometer in the radius, you will find these different cultural zones. And these cultural zones, the style, the expression also changes. So this is one categorization I tried to map. Now, another thing is that with the time period also the subject changes. So this is one house, just one particular house from a village called Lasadia, which is in Tonk district. I tried to photograph this wall over the period of some 15 years continuously. Every year I used to go and photograph this one particular wall to see how the changes happens. So you can understand in 15 or 20 years time another generation comes. So this is from 2002. Before that also the image exists from 2000 also here, but this is 2002, and you just look at the painting on the top wall on the left hand side, and I'll show you the another year painting, same house. So 2002, same house in 2003. So if you go to the previous image, the painting is different. Here the painting is different. Again 2004, the painting has changed now. You know, it's not that someone else has come to paint it. Maybe the woman from the same house, maybe the mother, maybe the daughter, maybe the aunt, other might have taken over this wall. 2006, the style has changed. 2008, you can see it's a different painting, same wall, same house. 2012, the painting has again changed like that. So every year, matlab, they are not copying, they are not just repeating the same form. It just keep changing. So what it is actually, no? It's a collective culture basically, but with individualistic distinctions. Women of the household get together to do these paintings, but within the painting you will find an individualistic distinction that they have. So as I said earlier, that every peacock is an individual expression. It's a signature of these women, of an individual woman. So this is how they learn from the elderly people. Maybe from their bhabi, bua, from their sisters, elder sisters. You can see here two women doing peacock in the cemetery. This is how the daughter learns from mother, just by assisting in these works. Here also, see this. The veranda that looks like a carpet, that they have spread a carpet. So forms and line are their signature identities, though it's a collective art, but then individual identities also exist. So you can, if you study these different lines, you will be able to understand which woman has done that particular art form in a village. Every woman has a different line. And peacock is a major subject, as I said earlier. Different peacocks, more intricate peacocks, peacocks within peacocks, peacocks as big as 10 to 15 feet, more peacocks, more peacocks. You will not see two peacocks similar anywhere in these paintings. You see more peacocks and more peacocks. Again, you will not see any line, any peacock form similar to any other woman's peacock. They are all different. And then they are proud of this. And you can see here a girl studying in BA has done a peacock, and now she is literate. She knows to write to script, and she has written यह मोरनी काली बनाई है. So that's the pride the community has in this art form. Thank you very much. This is all I wanted to share about this Meena art form. If there are any questions, I am happy to answer, Varsha.
Thank you, Dr. Meena, for showing us the visual culture of the Meena communities from the state of Rajasthan. A visual culture that is very intricately intertwined in the lives of the Meena community. This multi-layer presentation of the visual practice, as articulated by you, Meena yourself, gives us a greater insight into the sacredness of tribal imagination and practices. We would like to now open the room for the audience for questions. Due to paucity of time, we shall only be able to take a maximum of 5 questions from the audience in chronological manner. So feel free to post your questions if you have any. Till then, I'll ask Sir one question from my side. My first question is, how do you see visual and material practices of tribal communities similar or different to our urban understanding of visual and material art?
See, you know the urban imaginary how it is exist. It all comes from the textbooks that we study, or it comes what we see in the urban areas. But I don't think that people ever visit these interior areas. And everyone has his own expression, his or her own expression, which may be through words, which may be through language, which may be through these visual expressions also. The expressions of the indigenous communities that I see are more intrinsic, are more expressive of the community that they belongs to. So they tell their own story. I do not see that kind of a story coming out from the urban spaces, where in urban spaces you see more individualistic or maybe more individual art style that develops because of the kind of art education that we do. I'm not seeing the collective ownership of these art forms in the urban spaces. It is more of a private art ownerships. And then the kind of art that you see is more of a nature of a commercial, which has a purpose, which has a commercial purpose. So you see the gallery art when you see in the urban spaces, or you see the public art spaces where again it is all an output of the commercial expressions only. And these are all copy and paste, but these are also sometimes the internalization of the individual artist also. But over here, when you talk about the about the art expressions of the tribal community, it is an expression of the worldview. It is expression of their worldview. It is something that they have seen from their childhood. It is more near to the nature. It is more about the sustainability that they are. It is more about the cultural practice that they have, which I find very limited in the urban spaces. That's a major difference I have seen it. Another thing is that these art forms are just very organic in nature. They are not as complicated as you see in the urban spaces. They are simple but highly expressive, and they are very unique in their own nature.
Thank you, sir. Very well explained and worse question. My another question is, where do you think the art and design institutions in the countries are going wrong while engaging with tribal communities on art and craft?
Uh, yeah, this is the reason why I started this study. I took up this study was for the same reason that we do not find its mention in any of the design institutions or the fine art institutions. They have a very limited scope in these spaces. Also, the limited awareness in these institutions. Till date, many of the arts has already languished. They have vanished from the map. They still do not find mention in our classrooms. So that was the first reason. Now, coming to the design education, I think we have all copied from the West. Our expressions and the kind of designs that we see are all from the West. Because the colonial education impacted our understanding, way of looking at things. That first impacted us, and then later on the wide exposure that we are having to the world, that is further influencing us. So even if you see the curriculum of any design institution, if you pick it up, you'll not see any indigeneity, or you'll not find any Indianness in that particular curriculum. There's a big gap. There's a big gap how we live, how we breathe, and what we see in the design education. It's not connecting. It's not connecting anyway. So there's a lot of disconnection that I see. I did an article recently on this subject also. I think we need to look into the diversity of such Indian art, which because the palette is vast. It's a big palette. All the world together on one side and India just on one side. Whether you talk in languages, you talk in cultures, you talk of communities, you talk of visual expressions or design histories. Just India is just on one side. It has such a big diversity. So I think that diversity need to be brought into these classroom spaces in the arts institutions as well in the design institutions. Our education will become very rich if we just do this.
We have received another question from YouTube. It's from Shiva Malik. She asks, what reforms can be done by contemporary to preserve visual expression from traditional ways of art form?
See, by contemporary, I do not never mean that to copy, or we have this subject to take inspiration and do your own expression. This is a subject which is taught across most of the design institutions. But just by without living that life, how you can do it? It could be only a materialistic expression. It could not be an intrinsic expression. So I think from the environment that you come up from in the the life that you live, our art practice should also be developed from that instead of copying from other. So a lot of experiments are happening. How the Madhubani art is being used, how the Varli art being used or consumed, I should say. It's not used; it's being consumed. How the Varli art is being consumed by the mainstream society. I don't think that's the right way of doing it. That's not a justification. That's not a justified manner. That's not even a ethical way of working with these art forms. And then they are not being credited also that I see. Most of these art forms are copied by the mainstream and they don't even credit the communities. So there we have to look about. There is something that we need to take a serious note of those things. Why still the tribal artists suffer? Why still the Gond artists still suffer? Why that is still happening? If we are appreciating those art forms, because we are not valuing them, we are not validating them, and we are exploiting them. So that's a serious question I should raise, a serious awareness I should like to raise over here, that please, please, please don't exploit them to your own consumer needs.
There's another question in the chat from Bhaskar. Hi, sir. Lovely listening to you. What's your take on the influence of Gujarat Lipan art, or maybe vice versa?
So, Bhavya, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh are not too far. If you go into the history of Gond art, the Gond were also doing similar Lipan art that you see in Kutch now being practiced by the communities there. The same kind of relief mud work that I showed you in my slides was also practiced by the Gond and still being practiced in the God by the Gonds in part of this Chitrakoot area if you go there. This was there in Haryana also, but the medium was dung like over there. So this has been there across. It's just not that, but Lipan is something which has been named by by Kutch, and Kutch has marketed its craft very well. They are not now featured on the international platform. They have been very well able to establish it over there. But this was done by all the communities in the villages. If you had gone some 50 years ago, you could have seen this Lipan art being practiced by many communities. Now in Kutch, it is just being branded by one community there only. So this is again what I tell you, it's a commercial exploitation of these art form. This is how the mainstream community has looked at these and has branded them like this. Otherwise, you would 50 years ago, you would not even heard a word like Lipan art, like Wadli art or the Madhubani art. These words has never come from the community. This is we people from outside who has given these names. So Lipan art today is doing very well. The artists are traveling across the world doing these panels. Instead of doing walls, they are doing on cardboards now. It is highly sold in the craft market now. But it is something not which is coming from your heart for your own spaces. What I have shown you is a spaces created by the women for themselves to live that kind of a life, to celebrate their life. That was the art that I shared, not something which is being done for others. So Lipan is now being done only for others. You will hardly see as traces of it in the houses of these artisans who are practicing it in Kutch.
One last question, sir. What would you be your message to the young designers and artists from the tribal communities of India?
Yeah, so that's an important message. We are very rich, first of all. This is one thing that we need to understand. We just need not to map ourselves with literacy. I think if we are called illiterate, I think we are the most rich people culturally. We are most rich in our expressions. That is something, the most important thing, because I have worked with these people quoted unquoted as illiterates by the mainstream society. They are the knowledge bearers. I feel whenever an elderly person dies, I feel a culture also dies with the elderly person. So my request to the tribal youth, please go back to your roots. Please look at these elderly people and learn from them. Because that's the education that today's world is looking at as sustainability. They are marking its quote unquote as sustainability. That's the sustainability that they have given to us. I think we need to carry forward that sustainability. We need to carry forward that knowledge, which is just passing away with every generation dying. So just savor that, save that traditions, try to save that knowledge with whatever possible ways you can do it. Modernity will come. Definitely, I'm not telling you to go away from the modernity. You have to adjust with the modernity. But end of the day, it is sustainability. If we are able to breathe, we will live in this world. If we are not able to breathe, and if we are not at peace, then there is no way of living this life also. So that's the message for the tribal youth. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you everyone for participating in today's session. Before closing the session, I would like to update you on TDF sessions and the Tribal Futures upcoming sessions. All our sessions will be live on YouTube at 7 p.m. on weekdays and at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. on weekend. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m., we are interacting with Sengai Ji Momin, a Garo filmmaker and conservation advocate, GreenHub fellow, to learn from their filmmaking experience while filming the silent beauty below. And in the evening at 7:30 p.m. with a talk on homage to Pachanama, Mother Earth by Uriel Okumari Montufar, a photographer and environmental lawyer from the Quechua tribe, Puno, Peru. An update on Tribal Design Forum ongoing registration. Tribal Design Forum has started as a community for only designers and creative professionals from various tribes of India in 2021, with the purpose of to explore how design could benefit the tribal communities in India. Since TDF has evolved into a vibrant space for tribal professionals from all disciplines to exchange ideas, engage, and collaborate towards imagining tribal futures. We invite one and all students and professionals, tribal and non-tribal, to join Tribal Design Forum as a member or a patron to fuel the exciting journey to, of designing tribal futures. All the information regarding the joining process can be found on our website www.tribaldesignforum.com. We hope you will listen, reflect, and engage with these inspiring voices, voices that carry our history and shape our future. See you tomorrow for the upcoming session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.